exploration. "I think the island is inhabited," said Lewis, "and that the houses are on the other side. There are some sheep and some goats on that hill opposite. Do you see?" "Yes," said Stuart. "I think they are mouflons, but I don't think the island is inhabited all the same." No sooner were the words out of his mouth than he started, and rising to his feet, cried, "Look there!" And he pointed to a thin wreath of smoke which was rising from the wood. Their languor seemed to leave them, and they ran down the hill and reached the wood once more. Just as they were about to enter it, Lewis stopped and pointed to a small plant with white flowers and 3 oval-shaped leaves rising from the root. "What's that?" he asked Stuart, who was the better botanist of the two. The flowers were quite white, and each had 6 pointed petals. "It's a kind of garlic, I think," said Stuart. Lewis bent down over it. "It doesn't smell," he said. "It's not unlike moly, allium flavum, only it's white instead of yellow, and the flowers are larger. I'm going to take it with me." He began by scooping away the earth with a knife so as to take the plant out by the roots. After he had been working for some minutes, he exclaimed, "This is the toughest plant I've ever seen. I can't get it out." He was at last successful, but as he pulled the root, he gave a cry of surprise. "There's no bulb," he said. "Look, only a black root." Stuart examined the plant. "I can't make it out," he said. Lewis wrapped the plant in his handkerchief and put it in his pocket. They entered the wood. The air was still more sultry here than outside, and the stillness even more oppressive. There were no birds, and not a vestige of bird life. "This exploration is evidently a waste of time as far as birds are concerned," remarked Lewis. At that moment there was a rustle in the undergrowth, and 5 pigs crossed their path and disappeared grunting. Lewis started, and for some reason he could not account for, shuddered. He looked at Stuart, who appeared unconcerned. "They are not wild," said Stuart. They walked on in silence. The place and its heavy atmosphere had again affected their spirits. When they spoke, it was almost in a whisper. Lewis wished they had not landed, but he could give no reason to himself for his wish. After they had been walking for about 20 minutes, they suddenly came on an open space and a low white house. They stopped and looked at each other. "Where is the chimney?" cried Lewis, who was the first to speak. It was a 1-storied building with large windows, which had no glass in them, reaching to the ground, wider at the bottom than at the top. The house was overgrown with creepers. The roof was flat. They entered in silence by the large open doorway and found themselves in a low hall. There was no furniture, and the floor was mossy. "It's rather like an Egyptian tomb," said Stuart, and he shivered. The hall led into a farther room, which was open in the centre to the sky, like the impluvium of a Roman house. It also contained a square basin of water, which was filled by water bubbling from a lion's mouth carved in stone. Beyond the impluvium there were 2 smaller rooms, in one of which there was a kind of raised stone platform. The house was completely deserted and empty. Lewis and Stuart said little. They examined the house in silent amazement. "Look," said Lewis, pointing to one of the walls. Stuart examined the wall and noticed that there were traces on it of a faded, painted decoration. "It's like the wall paintings at Pompeii," he said. "I think the house is modern," remarked Lewis. "It was probably built by some eccentric at the beginning of the 19th century, who did it up in Empire style." "Do you know what the time is?" said Stuart suddenly. "The sun has set and it's growing dark." "We must go at once," said Lewis. "We'll come back here tomorrow." They walked on in silence. The wood was dim in the twilight. A fitful breeze made the trees rustle now and again, but the air